Great. Awesome.
So I guess the live stream's been going for about 2 hours now, so thank you for everybody that's been tuning in, and thank you everybody in the room. Despite the fire alarms, I think we're doing pretty well this morning, and this is the last kind of discussion before lunch, so thanks for hanging in. Really excited about this discussion. There's been a lot of news around Viacom in the last couple days. Last week, you joined as co-head of the Viacom Labs, and
Exciting.
just yesterday in Variety, there was a big article about a new show format specifically focused on live. So couldn't be better timing.
Yeah.
Maybe I think we could level set a little bit, let everybody understand what the Labs is. There's been a lot of discussion, but really want, from your point of view, why Viacom Labs? Why is it relevant today? How are you guys thinking about fan engagement? What is the Lab?
Sure. Well, first I just want to say we're really excited to be here, so thank you for having us. I'll start.
Yes.
So the mission for Viacom Labs is to explore the future of fan experiences and fan engagement. So the filter for all the projects in the lab, and we have about 32 projects on our slate right now, the filter is this going to put our fans more at the center of our brands? We also believe that we can help shine a light on all the quiet innovation that's happening across all of Viacom. What I'm most excited about is that we can really start to think about what a media company should and could be doing in the 21st century.
Sure. And you just joined, so tell us a little bit about why you joined, what you were doing, interesting background, and kind of how that fits into what the Labs is doing.
Yeah, it's kind of an exciting time. I guess I'm about 3 weeks, a month in, so this is really a great time to be in front of all you guys and talk about what we're doing here at Viacom Labs. You know, I came from Linkin Park, the rock band. I played the triangle. Joking. No, I played another instrument, but it was actually behind the scenes, which was Machine Shop, the actual business behind Linkin Park. And you know, when we were doing that, you know, and I came over to music, I hadn't come from the music space, and you know, it was going through a really interesting time where you know a lot of musicians were thinking about how to really build out the entire pie of how they're interacting with fans. So you know, Linkin Park having such a big, massive fan base, global fan base, and then thinking about how can we expand into other areas outside of music, whether it be you know film, whether it be fashion, whether it be games. And really find different ways to interact with the fan. And I think that's similar, you know, when I got the opportunity to come over to Viacom, and I was looking at the entertainment space in general and how the definition of entertainment, as we all know, is broadening. You know, I wanted to, you know, as they always said, if you're not in the jungle, you don't get to see the tiger and you won't know the tiger. So, you know, getting the opportunity to do that now in the music space, going from the music space and doing that in the entertainment and TV space, we're looking at it similarly, like Sue had mentioned, kind of looking at all the different ways to interact with fans, not just now, and how TV is not just you know the glass on the screen, but there's so many other ways to interact with fans, and that was what got me excited to join right now.
Yeah. So, you know, there have been a number of projects and experiments to some degree that you guys have done in the Labs. And then again, there was a big announcement yesterday. So maybe building up to that, can you talk to us a little bit about what you guys have been experimenting with in the live space and sort of what you've learned to then get you to what was announced just yesterday, which I'm trying to build a lot of suspense for, as you can obviously see. So.
The suspense is building. Well, I think, you know, what's interesting, Livestream has been around for so long, right? You know, all the way back to Justin TV. You know, now having gone through so many iterations, now the technology has gotten better, latency's gotten better, and now we're able to have, you know, live stream right here happening. I think, you know, we're looking at it in different ways, and so is everyone else. You know, the social landscape and the digital landscape, you know, whether it be, you know, Facebook, you know, Instagram, Twitter, et cetera, they're all looking at live stream in different ways. And so in the TV space, we're also thinking about how can we leverage live stream as a new medium to really, again, engage with the fans. So as I said before, like as the TV space and the entertainment landscape is changing from being kind of like a pipeline business to being more of a platform business. You know, I think that live stream is a great medium to do that, and we've made some tests to try to start to get that way.
Yeah, so in terms of the big reveal, so for the lab, we're always looking at new ways to connect with our fans and to co-create with them.
Yep.
So what we set out to see if we could do was, could we take what our fans were loving about live streaming, the spontaneity, the authenticity of it, and give it the scale of linear television? So we set out to find a technology that would allow us to do it, and we found this piece of tech that basically takes your computer and turns it almost into a production truck. So instead of having cameras 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, anybody with a phone in their hand who puts in a certain hashtag is now a camera for your linear broadcast. So we did a test in July over in Australia with MTV Australia. They're super innovative, tech savvy, want to try things first, great place for us to pilot things. So we partnered with them and we took an hour of music videos and we asked fans in New York, Australia, and in the UK to put in the hashtag MTV Step Up. And when they did, I was sitting in the control room. I could see as fans put that hashtag in, and then we could instantly port them onto the TV. So we had a little graphic of a phone on top of the music video, and the fans were then dancing along with Gwen Stefani or whoever was in the music video. So it was a live interactive test. So we were thrilled to pull that off. And the exciting news is that the team in Australia is now moving forward and developing a format based on that and hope to launch a show in early 2017.
Got it. So, when you did that experiment, again, getting back to how you actually get this stuff on air and how you actually innovate, what was that process like? Was it the labs, Australia, together, lots of teams? Did you kind of go sort of SWAT team style? A lot of big companies here, a lot of people in big machines. It takes a while to innovate. So I'm curious about how you found the ability to innovate in obviously a large company.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to, we were in conversation with a team in Amsterdam, and they actually introduced us to the folks in, the UK who suggested that we partner with the team in Australia because they knew one of their initiatives was to make their television more interactive. So, I mean, I feel like we are very supported and encouraged to be taking these risks and taking these chances. So.
And I think the reason also why the wheels have been greased as well throughout the organization because there's so much testing going on in live stream right now. Whether it be, and we kind of put them, I guess if I'll try to put it in some buckets, but, you have simulcasting where, for example, when they Spike with Bellator and Ink Masters, having content that's showing in live stream on digitals and socials as well as on the linear television. So that's an interesting way, a different format, a way to look at live stream. Another one being obviously, extended content or interstitial content, whether it be kind of post-game wrap-ups of Love and Hip Hop or, different ways of showing kind of daily show content on Facebook Live or what have you. And then maybe a third bucket being live stream specific content. So starting to think about, can we bring live stream formatted programming and make it specific for live stream platforms? So at midnight, actually in Comedy Central at South by Southwest, they actually tested creating programs specifically for Periscope. So I think a lot of the different groups, like Sue was saying, there's a lot of these quiet innovations that are happening around the organization. And so, when we bring live stream out, like you mentioned, there needs to be a SWAT team to kind of be able to get through a large organization. I think luckily we're in a space where everyone's trying to do really interesting things. And so it's a great feeding ground for this type of innovation to happen. So.
Yeah, we're now talking to multiple brands about coming up with groundbreaking formats leveraging this live stream technology.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, anytime you have, a new platform, right, that starts to gain traction, and obviously we're having an entire event about a platform that's not new, but is kind of reaching a critical scale. Lots of brands getting involved, and there's always this challenge to make sure that, you're able to create an amazing opportunity for your fans, and in your case, truly co-creating content with them. Brands want, in many ways, that authenticity. So how do you guys work with the sales team? How do you guys think about working with brands in a way in which everybody wins in that sort of scenario of creating authentic engagement with fans and storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, just thinking about, like you mentioned, it's a new medium.
Yeah.
And you know, there's always a place for brands on every medium. You know, and every time you switch over and kind of go into a new space, you know, there becomes, again, more testing even on the brand side of things. You know, how do you keep the authenticity of what Livestream has to offer, but also allowing for brands to have that, be part of that interaction with, you know, a similar overlap of their consumer base, you know, whether going from, you know, newspaper to television, eventually television to digital, and then, you know, going into Livestream and now VR and AR and all these other new platforms. There's a lot of testing that's involved, whether, you know, and you're hearing a lot of people try different things, whether it's sponsoring of content or branded content, or you know, even
or
people.
they're using
yeah.
it in smart ways for brands.
Yeah.
Is what I think we're seeing. It's like it makes sense for big product announcements or Q&As or, you know, red carpet types of things, giving people a peek behind the curtain. But you know, there's obviously risks associated with it, and
yeah. I mean, you know, there's all types of new types of advertising that will happen that's native to Livestream that we may not have seen yet. You know, when you're thinking about VR, for example, people trying to figure out how to serve up ad units in a VR immersive experience, you know, that's something that we would have never thought about when you think about linear television. So I think those similar, like, new native to the platform advertising methods are going to be developed and created by hopefully some of you guys in the room, you know, and that's the exciting part, I think, about and why we're all here to even talk about Livestream, because there's so much white space on how that engagement that you mentioned can happen.
So we've talked a little bit about storytelling and live as a kind of another storytelling mechanism, but I do want to go back to the tech for a minute, because as you said, this started with saying, wait, do we actually have the ability to do this? And yes, we have to think about the issues of, is it truly live? Is there a delay? What does that mean in terms of the syncing up of actual fans that are participating and the content? But, you know, are there other tools that you guys are looking at as, you know, as part of the labs that help your fans engage with the content that either you're creating, or giving them tools to create content themselves around your stories, your characters, your shows?
not specific to live streaming, per
Not
se?
necessarily live streaming,
Okay, yeah. I mean, we are working with a company called Flickr Lab that is based in Brooklyn and in Copenhagen. And basically it is live, it's animation plus technology, and it allows our brands and our fans to create live animation in real time. So I think that's another opportunity that we have to connect and co-create with our fans.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much new technology that's going to be coming out. You know, when I saw spectacles, I started to think about, you know, is it almost taking it back to the Justin TV days, for example, when he was mounting a camera on himself and being able to live stream his entire day? Is that going to be the way Snapchat thinks about, you know, live streaming? You know, I think that, you know, perspective of the live stream is something that's still being developed, you know, on your phone. And is that still the best method, you know, via traditional camera methods? Is that still the best method? So again, I'm kind of really I guess I'm a futurist in that regard, and kind of thinking about where will, now that we have a new medium, what are all the different things around the ecosystem that, from technology that you mentioned, both back end and, you know, advertising-based technology, hardware to help to facilitate that, and then, yeah, I think that'll be kind of what we'll be seeing coming in the future.
So when you look back at that experiment and then the kind of relatively short period of time between experiment and greenlight, you know, what were some of the internal conversations, either around how do you scale the technology, how do we think about the right format? Talk to us a little bit about that process, and what were some of the early learnings or the feedback from the fans, first and foremost? Did they enjoy the format, and kind of, did they kind of offer any suggestions to co-create, you know, to add to the co-creation process?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think clearly that we learned that the fans enjoyed participating in it. And I think that one of the next things that we thought about was how can we interact with fans more. And so, I think we're going to be spending a lot of our times, not necessarily with the Australia pilot, but
Sure.
I think we're going to be spending our time focusing on how can we make it even more interactive. I think we had to navigate, challenges around latency and things like that. So trying to figure out potentially new technologies or better technologies that will help us deal with some of those issues. So.
Are there any other formats that you guys look at? I mean, obviously, you've kind of stated you're looking across the whole portfolio, and you've got quite a range. Are there any that, in particular that excite you, that you kind of want to spend time thinking about as outside of kind of the music genre?
Well, at this point, there's multiple brands working on projects that we're not at a point where we're ready to share what those formats are. So
Live Fronts 2.0.
you'll have to,
Okay.
exactly.
Got it.
We'll be happy to come back and talk about all those next year.
Got it. Okay. Good. So, I'm not really big into kind of Futurecasting, but I would be interested, and I'm sure if you had an extra hour once a week, if you had extra 10% on your budget, if you had an extra body, where would you guys be investing time to learn?
In regards to live streaming.
In regards to live streaming.
I would probably sleep for an extra hour.
Yeah.
With live streaming, a couple of things. Like I said, I think that interactivity is so important. So I feel like we'd spend some time figuring that piece out. But I also think priorities in 2017 for labs are both, AR, mixed reality, VR. So
Sure.
I'd love to push and see how those technologies can start making live streaming an even more immersive experience.
Right.
I'd love to spend some time on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think live streaming, and Facebook kind of talked about that as they were going into VR with Oculus. I think they've seen live stream as potentially a bridge to social VR. And again, going back to technology and where it's going, I think immersive live stream social experiences could be the next iteration of where live stream goes. And again, right now we're just in kind of 1.0 of what the technology is, but I think that's the type of things that we're looking for when we mention about the lab's mission of being twofold: fan engagement today, but also where will fans be engaging tomorrow. And then if I had extra money on top of that, and extra time on top of that, maybe 15%. I try to, take that money and, go to my cousins, and maybe my little cousins, and try to see if I can, increase their weekly allowance and be able to follow them around for a while. Because, I think everyone talks about millennials now, and, I'm a millennial, and, and yes, we've helped to drive some of the new ways to consume in digital. But now, obviously, if you look down to the younger kids, they're looking at live stream now is kind of something that may be old to them when they get to be 10, 15 years old. So I'd love to spend extra time with them and really just hang out with the young kids. As Kanye always said, listen to the kids, bro. Listen to the kids. And that's what I would do.
Now we can drop the mic. We've
that's
quoted
the mic
Kanye.
drop.
Yes, Kanye's
Exactly.
Kanye's the best. So I'm going to ask that same question a little different way. On the other hand, like any job, any new platform, any initiative, there's also sometimes a disproportionate amount of time spent on the challenges or the problems. So if there are, whether it's the technical side or measurement, when you guys look at how you're spending your time, is there an area or areas that you say, can't wait till that's solved so that we can move on from that? Or is it just sort of this is the state of where things are today? But really want to understand from your perspective, what do you find most challenging about kind of pulling these ideas together, actually getting them up on air and kind of doing the right thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say mine is kind of a boring challenge, but one that we have to tackle, which is just in terms of legal. With live streaming, there's a lot of risk. You're putting people on TV, you don't know what they're going to do. So, working hand in hand with our legal team to navigate all of that and making sure people aren't coming on with logos and playing music that's not cleared. And I mean, that's a big challenge if we want to have live streaming be a part of our shows. So I would love to have that piece solved so that we can just focus on making awesome content.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, like you mentioned, if we're looking too far in the future, sometimes it's like, how do you do things in the present? And there could be meals being created that we haven't seen yet in the kitchen, and we could smell them right now, and we have a sense. I know everyone's hungry, so it's lunchtime. So maybe that's I'm going into the food analogy, but you're smelling all these new things that are going to be happening when it comes to technology. And right now, we're making sure that we're feeding appetizers to the audience and internally to the rest of the team. So when those things do come, and when the main meal comes out, and when lunch is served for everyone out here, they're ready to consume that. So I think it is kind of like you said, a challenge to be future casting and thinking about where technology is going and making sure that we're there. And having those discussions and getting understanding and bringing that back to our teams, but making sure that we're executing in the near term, so when that happens, we're not so far behind.
Got it. Interesting. Well, I mean, I actually think it'd be great to start to allow the audience to actually participate here. So we'd love to take some questions. I think is there a mic going around, or we can start right here, and I can repeat the question if we can't hear you. But
so as far as broadcasting and moving on social like Facebook, Periscope, are you using the native broadcasting tools, or are you using the more kind of TV style production elements to broadcast on those platforms?
question is whether you want to use the native tools for broadcasting, or are you using more TV and newer technologies that are allowing you to kind of create more TV-like experiences that are.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what the use case is. If you're talking about, on the red carpet, behind the scenes based content, sometimes to make it more authentic, as you know, in Livestream, making it using a mobile platform, a native platform and technology to broadcast that may be the best way to go. But if it's something where you're live streaming, say a performance, I saw the question earlier about, would you pay $100 to watch your favorite artist? You'd probably want television quality and as close to 4K or whatever the technology is now as possible to make sure that there's value there for that transaction. So I think the use case kind of really depends there. Yeah.
Other questions?
We can hear you.
Hi, Jaya from Facebook. My question is really in thinking about data. Obviously, there's information on things like views and watch time. There's also demographic information. How seriously do you guys take behavior? Like people who come every morning, or people who like to lean back at night, as you think about your content strategy, your product development, and these more qualitative components of how to serve audience?
Talk about Kern and
Sure.
I mean, data, when you guys are looking at data, it's funny because Facebook, I think, has obviously amazing data, if not the best on a lot of people, because of all the information that people put in, and now those tools being used when it comes to Facebook Connect and things like that. Data is extremely important, and not just how people are consuming content, but then being able to create profiles around that. So I think we're starting to do that here. And I think there's teams within Viacom that are working on data extremely importantly and looking at it in unique ways. And the labs, our job is to really try to find the cultural insights and then work in tandem with those data teams to actually come up with innovative solutions. So I think when you talk about the labs, what we're doing, data is extremely important, and we have teams that we're able to work with, and we luckily have those resources at our disposal to be able to make sure that when we are coming up with programming or engagement ideas, data is at the center of that. So.
And we are thinking about whether experiences should be leaned back or, and that's all being informed by behavior that we're observing and understanding.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have obviously invested heavily. You had the data fronts earlier this year.
That's right.
What I would think about with you guys in respect to data too is, again, that focus on the fans. I know you guys have used Canvas and other tools that kind of give the emotional reaction. I thought that was really interesting, kind of in the early upfronts, new fronts period, where you guys talked a lot about that. So, other questions? You got a mic.
Working with brand integrations on the live streaming part of it, since it's still pretty new and hard to kind of measure, are you packaging it in with a whole bunch of other things, or are you sort of selling it on its own?
Well, we are the team that would be working on the brand integrations. So
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think there's other teams that kind of focus on those areas, and they do a great job of it, and they're trying to figure out, like to your point, that's a great question. Is it best to package it up because it's hard to measure on the live stream side, and those tools just maybe aren't there yet, or have it
Is
as
it added
standalone?
value at this
or is it
point?
added value? I think people,
Right.
I think people are still trying to figure that out. I think that's what makes it exciting. I agree with you.
Got another question over there?
So I'm curious, outside of like the media and like traditional marketing, have you looked at passing on that data beyond that? Like for me, I work with a lot of brands on using it as a recruiting tool, leveraging live video and how you're kind of empowering employees to do things, and then kind of connecting the dots and saying, these are people that continually come back and support us. They might be, someone that HR should keep a radar on, or someone that, our product marketing team might understand someone. Like, have you looked at kind of passing on that live data through other kind of departments in your company?
With the HR, how we brought in the fans.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
You're talking about, let me just make sure I understand the question. Taking data to then inform HR decisions?
So like understanding your audience that's consuming so that it can actually help other elements of
Sure.
your company.
Yeah, so an interesting area, this is a little bit outside of live stream, I guess, but when we're thinking about consumer products, for example, and one of the areas that the labs is also focused on, is like how can we work with our because fans are already making consumer products of their own out of amazing characters in the brands that they love, and so how can we empower them rather than kind of like shut them down, and how do we empower them and say, okay, fans are loving these type of products, maybe those are things that should be informing the consumer product side of the business, or how do we work with them to enable them to be evangelists when it comes to the consumer products that they love. So I agree with you on that side of things. When it comes to e-commerce and consumer products, that's somewhat of the symbiotic relationships we can start to create with our fan base, and again, that goes back to making us a platform rather than being a pipeline. So rather than just pushing down content to people and having them have a lean back experience and them not feeling like they have a voice, making it a platform where they can come and add value to the platform. We can learn from them as well in the process, and now 1 + 1 = 3.
Have you thought about giving them access to your live events and going that far?
Yeah, all those things we're thinking about, exactly. I think those are what the new and innovative ways to really interact with the fans that we're excited about at the labs, I think.
And a great use for live streaming.
Yeah, yeah.
Having our fans be our cameras on the ground at events.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? This light is blinding me. I can't
It
quite
is
see.
blinding.
I think the smell and the sense that I was giving
Well,
off
you
before.
kept talking about food, so
Yeah.
now everyone's starving.
Get one more.
In the sense that you're talking about crowdsourcing content, is that users taking advantage of the existing platforms? Like, when you talk about crowdsourcing content, is that people using the existing channels like Periscope and Facebook that you're able to grab, or are they having to use some kind of proprietary like Viacom solution to be able to participate in that way?
No, that's a great question. So for the tech that we had for the test that we did, and we'll be using for the Australia format, that can scrub Periscope, YouNow, Facebook Live. So it's not, it does not have to be a proprietary app.
So they keep doing what they're doing. Nothing changes.
We want to meet our fans where they already are, not make them download something else.
Okay. All right. One last ask. Anybody else? All right then. Well, thank
Okay.
you all.
Thank you.
Lunch break. See you out there.